We're going to do a systematic review of lines and graphing. And I've made a few notes here that I'm going to refer to as I go through. I think we've got 10 questions. Let's get started. First of all, it wants me to plot these 2 points, -1, -1, and -3, 3. If you recall, ordered pairs are in the form of x, y, where the first coordinate, the x, is the amount that you go either left or right, depending on whether the number is negative or positive. And then the second coordinate is your y, which tells you how much to go up or down, again, depending on whether the coordinate is negative or positive. So for our first ordered pair, -1, -1, that's going to say to go left 1 and then down 1. If we go to our graph from the origin, which is the center of the graph, we're going to go left 1, down 1, and that's where the point goes, okay? And just to give you a little poem here to help you cement things into your brain, you have to put the dot in the right spot. That's the poem. Put the dot in the right spot. Now, for the other ordered pair, that's going to say to go left 3 and then up 3. So again, from the origin, if we go left 3 and then up 3, that's going to get us right there. So that's how you plot points in the coordinate system. Now, problem number 2, it says to make a right triangle and determine the slope. So what I've done here is I've given you a little formula for the slope. You need to know that slope is rise over run, and that in the slope-intercept form, which I've written down here, the letter M represents slope. Now, they did not specify how to construct your right triangle, and there are 2 ways to do that. So we can either go from the first point down and over, and that'll construct a right triangle, or you could go over and down, and that would also make a right triangle. Now, either way is going to give you the same slope. So it doesn't matter how you construct your right triangle. Okay, I'm going to go with this one right here. Now, it says make a right triangle and determine the slope. Now, since slope is rise over run, we're going to have to figure out how much we either went up or down and then over to get from one point to the next. All right, so if we start up at the higher point, we're going to have to go down 4 spaces and then over 2 spaces. If you go down, that value has to be negative. So we're going to go down 4 and then over 2 to get from one dot to the other. That means that we will have a slope of -4 over 2, since it has to be rise over run. And then you do need to simplify that to lowest terms. -4 over 2 will divide to make -2. That is our slope for this particular line that connects these 2 points. And that takes care of question number 2. Question number 3. Estimate the Y-intercept. Now, it doesn't say Y-intercept, but since they say to get to the y-axis, that implies Y-intercept. And since I'm talking about this, let's also note that the Y-intercept is the B in the slope-intercept form. That's going to be important in just a second. All right, so here we go. Let's continue this line. Again, if we do another slope, if we go down 4 and over 2 and connect the dots as best as we can, you're going to see that that line intersects the y-axis at -3, and so that would be our y-intercept. So if we continue this line, we're going to have a y-intercept of -3. And that's going to take care of question number 3. Next, question number 4. Describe the line using the slope-intercept form. Now, if we've done everything correctly up to this point, this part should be freaking easy. So freaking easy. Notice we've got the slope, which is m, and the y-intercept, which is b. So all we need to do is take this formula and plug and play. That means we're going to plug in the numbers for the letters we know. And our y-intercept equation would be y equals mx plus b. Now, you don't really want to leave plus a minus like this. Remember that 3 is -3. So plus a negative makes a minus overall. So the answer would be y equals -2x minus 3. That would be the equation of this line in slope-intercept form. And that does it for question number 4. And then for question number 5, I think I need to clear up this drawing. Okay, so give me 1 second to clear up my mess here. All right, moving on to question number 5. It says, which of the following lines is parallel to this equation? So what you need to know about parallel lines have the same slope. And if you go back to the slope-intercept form, remember the slope is the m, which is the coefficient of x. Now the word coefficient means the number in front of the letter. So the coefficient of x in this equation is 3. And so in order to figure out which of these answers is parallel, you're going to have to know which of these equations has the same slope. Which of the equations also has a coefficient of x that is 3, but the y has to be by itself. Yeah, so this one's going to be a little tricky because in order to figure this out, the equations are going to have to be in slope-intercept form. And answer C is already in slope-intercept form. You can tell that because the y is by itself, and it does have a coefficient of 3. So answer choice C would be a correct answer. Now let's check answer choice A. To get the y by itself, you would have to divide everybody by 4. That'll get those y's to cancel. And then you can look at the coefficient of x and ask yourself, is -4 over 4 equal to 3? Well, that is obviously not true. And so that means that A would not be a correct answer choice. And then for answer choice B, in order to get rid of this fraction, you would have to multiply by the common denominator, which is 2. So if I multiply by 2 to get rid of the fraction, that means I'm going to have 2 times 3 over 2 for the coefficient of x, and these 2's will cancel and leave us with a 3. And so answer choice B, I think, would also be a correct answer, because once you get the y by itself, the coefficient of x would also be 3. So I think there's 2 correct answers there. The main thing that I need to get across to you for number 5 here is that in order for lines to be parallel, they have to have the same slope. And in order for you to effectively compare their slopes, you have to be in slope-intercept form, which means you have to have y by itself. All right, for question 6, it says draw a line that is parallel to the line in number 5. So what I did is I took the equation from number 5 and I just recopied it down here, y equals 3x plus 1. They want me to draw a line that is parallel to this line, but passes through the point 1, 1. Okay, so we know that parallel lines have the same slope. And so we can see that this line has a slope of 3, which means that our line also has to have a slope of 3. And I need that to be a fraction so that I can see the rise and the run. So any whole number can be made into a fraction by putting it over 1, and that gives us our rise and run. So now we know the point that we need to go through, and we know our rise and run to get to the next point. And so at this point, pun intended, we should be able to graph this line. So let's plot the point. Remember the poem? Let's put the dot in the right spot. That means we're going to go over 1 and up 1 to plot this point. And then our rise and run is 3 and 1. So from this point, we're going to rise 3 and run 1 to get to a new dot, and then I simply play connect the dots. Bam, and that gets our line graphed. Notice that we can also estimate the Y-intercept if we want to. Looks like the Y-intercept for this line is going to be at -2. So it says, for number 7, it says describe the new line using the slope-intercept form. Well, we know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope that we already know. We know that m is 3, so that's going to be y equals 3x. Now we need to know b. Well, remember that b is the y-intercept, which we just found to be -2. And then we can finish writing our equation just like that. Y equals mx plus b, y equals 3x minus 2. That is our line we just graphed in slope-intercept form. Now, it says what will be the slope of a line parallel to this equation. Okay, so this is a new question, not related to anything we've already done, but we do know that parallel lines have the same slope, and if you have y by itself, then the slope is the coefficient of x, which in this case is -1/5. So it says what will be the slope of this line? It's going to be -1/5. That would be the slope of a line parallel to this equation. Yay, so far so good. Number 9, write in standard form. Okay, so here's the formula for standard form, where a, b, and c are integers. That means that they're whole numbers or they're opposites. No fractions allowed. So what we want to do is to take this equation, which is in slope-intercept form, and convert it into standard form. Okay, super easy, barely an inconvenience. All we have to do is take the -3x term and move it over. Now, anytime that you bring a term across the equal sign, it will change sign. So our -3x will become +3x. Our y was understood to be positive already, so that would be plus y equals -6. And this is standard form. That is now ax plus by equals c. And now if I wanted to, I could get the values for A, B, and C. Just for fun, that would be 3, 1, and -6. And for the last question, write in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form means y by itself. So here's the y term. I've also got this plus 10x term. I need to move it over to isolate the 5y. So remember, if you take something across the equal sign, it has to change sign, and that will become minus 10x. The 5 is minus 5. And then to get rid of the coefficient of y, since it's multiplied, I'm going to need to divide. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. You have to do that to every term throughout the equation. So that's going to get my 5's to cancel. That's going to get the y by itself. -10 divided by 5 is -2x. -5 divided by 5 is -1. And there's the answer in slope-intercept form. And that's going to do it for this lesson. So if you have any questions or comments about anything that I've done, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below, or you can text me. And thanks for watching.